All right, Burt Jones is with me. He's Lieutenant Governor of Georgia. He's also a candidate in the governor's race. Burt, it's great to have you on. I know you've done some stuff with us in the past, and you just got endorsement for President Trump, which is terrific. But one thing I want to go back to is that I think this was last year, and we reported this extensively at Breitbart, is that you're doing a effort to DOGE Georgia. And I think this is great. And I love this concept that we're trying to find waste, fraud, and abuse everywhere. Georgia seems to have quite a bit of it. Can you fill us in on how those efforts are going?
Yeah, great. Well, number one, great to be on here, Alex. And yes, you are correct. The president not only has endorsed me to be the next governor of Georgia, not once, not twice, but 3 times now, and just in the last 3 weeks or so. So, and it really goes back to the folks that I'm running against. They're all people who have been nowhere to be found during 16, 20, and 24. They absolutely were never Trumpers, and now all of a sudden now that I'm running and they're running, they're trying to be Trump-like candidates, and that's the reason why the president has gotten a little irritated with them and decided, you know what, I'm going to make sure everybody knows who my guy is, and so I'm proud to have his endorsement, and glad he's on our side. On the Georgia DOGE portion of things, look, we called it before. It was called Georgia DOGE. We called it the red tape rollback, and it was just quite simple concept. You know, it was saying, look, every one of these state agencies is going to have a reset. We're going to have a reset of regs and stipulations on the books every 4 years, just so that we don't have a overburdensome list of regulations that obviously always hurt individuals and hurt businesses. So we called it the red tape rollback. And believe it or not, Alex, when we called it that, it got bipartisan support. But as soon as we renamed it to the Georgia DOGE, all of a sudden the Democrats left us, and know, and it just goes to show you how petty their politics are right now, that when they'll be for something on one occasion and then it gets renamed and it has anything to do with this administration, they obviously run away from it. So, but we're going to continue to do it, because I mean that's what I think is the most important things we can do as elected officials. We need to get government out of the way, and that's local government, state government, and federal government. I mean, the worst thing for businesses is all these regulatory guidelines that we always have to abide by, because it just slows us down and costs us more money at the end of the day.
Yeah, noteworthy when you just change the branding and then they change their minds completely. We've been talking about this a lot with the Iran war, which was, one of Chuck Schumer's signature things. He wanted a war in Iran for 30 years, and then now we're doing it. And then it's like, no, now it's a bad idea for him all of a sudden. So you endorsed President Trump. I think it was back in 2015. You're one of the original people who was on the Trump train. You can't have imagined the trajectory that it took. I certainly didn't, and we were pretty early on the Trump train at Breitbart as well.
Sure.
But in particular, being in Georgia, because there's been so many electoral controversies regarding the state, and I know that Trump now is investigating Fulton County.
Right.
Do you know how that is going now? Do you have any sense of that?
No, not since they raided. Look, Fulton County, this was not for us. For those of us who've lived here all our lives, Fulton County's always had issues when it came to elections.
This is where Atlanta is, correct?
Yeah,
Atlanta's in
Atlanta,
Fulton County. Right?
Yeah, so, Fulton County is the county seat of Atlanta is the main city in Fulton County. And Fulton County's always had issues, and they've always been corrupt in Fulton County way before 2020. They've always had problems with elections. Obviously, 2020 was a total debacle, but they've ignored court orders. They've ignored subpoenas from different attorneys from all across the country, and they fought it at every turn. But they have in the last 5 or 6 years now, they have finally admitted to the fact that we do know for a fact, because they admitted to this, that over 4,000 ballots were double counted. We do know for a fact that over 300,000 ballots were not properly, as our Secretary of State, who's another story altogether, but our Secretary of State said that over 300,000 ballots were not properly processed, and I don't know about you, but when I hear something's not properly processed, that means the rules and the regs and the laws were not followed. And so therefore, they finally had to do an FBI raid, because they ignored every other court order that had gone on, and they did the FBI raid. They've gotten all the documents. Where we are, I don't know. Obviously, the feds are not giving us any kind of inside intel or anything. But I do, if all the stuff still exists, if all the files still exist, then I would it'd be reasonable to believe that they're going to find some sort of shenanigans that went on, because I don't think Fulton County and the Secretary of State would fight it as hard as they've been fighting it.
All right, so you got a race on your hands for nomination. Rick Jackson is another prominent Republican who's running, and you guys are pretty differentiated in a couple of key things. Let's take a look at immigration. Where do you fall on this issue? What are your top priorities? And let's contrast that with your opponent.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm going to fall on the side of the president. I mean, obviously, we've allowed 15 to 20 million illegals into this country. He has made it a point, number one, shut down the border, which I fully support. But number two, he has made it a priority that we go and get round up the illegals who are here, especially the criminals, the ones who have committed crimes since they've been here. I mean, obviously they committed a crime when they came over the border, but I'm talking about when they violent crimes, and those are the ones that he has been. I think ICE has been going after first. We want to be supportive of the administration in doing that, and if I'm governor, we will be totally supportive of this administration in enforcing our laws. Look, I don't know where the guy I'm running against really stands on anything, because he's come out of the gate, as Breitbart accurately reported a week or so ago. He's come out of the gate and he's basically told two lies. One, that he is somebody who's an outsider. He's not an outsider. He's an ultimate insider. He's gotten billions of dollars in state and federal contracts because of his political connections. He's also saying he's the Trump candidate, which I've already told you once before, that the president not only has endorsed me wholeheartedly, not once, not twice, but 3 times now. So he came out of the gate with 2 lies, and he's always been a guy who's been a moderate, left-leaning moderate at that. He was a Jeb Bush supporter and bankrolled Jeb Bush. He was a Nikki Haley supporter and bankrolled her during her run for president. So look, I mean, like I said, he's just a guy that woke up one morning and decided he wanted to be governor, and he's just trying to buy his way into the governor's seat, which obviously is fine, but be truthful about who you are.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've been recommending to Republicans across the country is you've got to get Trump on the ballot, because Trump being on the ballot in the midterms is going to be the difference between us winning and not winning. It's just flat out. So if you don't have a accurate claim of being the Trump candidate, that's going to I think it's going to really turn off a lot of base voters. One thing that was noteworthy from Jackson's background is he talks a good game about DEI, but he had a healthcare firm that had a bunch of diversity initiatives. You just can't have that in the healthcare space. That's where my family works in that space. You can't have any of that stuff. I want you to comment on that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, he had a DEI director within his own company, Jackson Healthcare. He provided nursing and doctors for Planned Parenthood organization. He provided nursing and doctors for transgender surgeries. I mean, the guy, like I said, is coming out. He's, like I said, he's got a lot of money. He's put in a lot of money, and he's got these Hollywood produce of commercials and mailers and everything. And it's trying to create a fictional character, because he does not represent anything that he's putting out there of who he is. Who he is somebody who he actually is somebody who had a DEI director working at his Jackson Healthcare company. He did fund Planned Parenthood procedures as well as transgender procedures. So, and the fact it's very questionable about a lot of these contracts that he's gotten, of no bid contracts, quite frankly, that upended the whole healthcare system as far as from a cost standpoint. So he's got a lot of stuff to explain. I appreciate Breitbart reporting on the Planned Parenthood issue because it needs to be exposed.
Sure. It's one of these things that you can't have any gray area on this stuff, for at least for my audience, is that part of Jackson's healthcare unit has a recruitment service. And in that, the recruiting for Planned Parenthood, and I know we want to keep our businesses politically neutral to some degree, but you don't have to help people commit a genocide, which is what Planned Parenthood does. So it just feels like a line I would have drawn personally, Bert.
Yeah, well, no question about it. I mean, look, I led the charge on getting boys out of girls sports here in Georgia. We got that the Riley Gaines Act. We got that done last year. I led the charge on not allowing minors to have transgender surgeries, and we, also led the charge on getting puberty blockers. Doctors from prescribing puberty blockers to minors as well. So I've got a record of doing things that actually protect our children, protect our girls, and he obviously has been profiting off something just the opposite of what we've been doing here in Georgia.
All right. So, what else we need to know about this race? We got about a minute and a half left here. What else we need to know about the race for people who want to get involved in this Georgia primary that looks like it's going to be tough?
Yeah, obviously, look, go to burtjonesforga.com if you want to learn more about us and my actual record as a candidate and who I've been as a business person as well. Love for you to join. We do have I am the MAGA Trump-endorsed candidate in this race. I am the one who is America first in this race. The rest of these folks are just trying, obviously, to copy that, and but they've never been with us before, and everybody needs to know that, especially the latest billionaire. I call him Slick Rick for a reason, because he's trying to trick everybody.
Who's backing his campaign? Who's funding it?
Yeah, well, I don't know who's behind his campaign. I mean, he's got some of the establishment, Republicans who have been involved in it, that don't like Trump. They don't like me,
Yeah.
because, but I mean, for best I can tell, he's using a lot of his funding for himself. But, with all the contracts that he's gotten, it's probably the taxpayers' dollars that are helping fund his campaign more than anything else, because he's gotten literally over $1 billion worth of no bid contracts. So it's probably really coming more from the taxpayers who are funding his campaign as opposed to his private money.
Well, very good. Well, Burt Jones, congrats on the Trump endorsement and best of luck along the way. Give us the website one more time.
It's burtjonesforga.com, burtjonesforga.com, and love for your viewers to go check it out.